We're gonna let people start coming here. I'm gonna pause the recording for just and hit record. Okay, all right. Woo! You guys, for those of you who found us through an ad or have never been to any of our presentations or done anything with us, I just want to say hi and welcome. My name is Alexa Bigwarf. I'm the host of the Women in Publishing Summit, which is where most of you are coming from, but we know we have a lot of our Write, Publish, Sell folks here. That is our mother company where we help authors through writing, publishing, and selling their books, as the name would suggest. So I am really excited to have you here for this webinar today. It is one of our big three, I'm going to call it our big three free webinars as we lead into the Women in Publishing Summit, which kicks off on March 2nd. And actually, we have our keynote presentation on March 1st, which if you're on our email list, you would have seen an invitation to that with Robin Cutler. If you didn't get that, we'll include it in the replay information that goes out so you can register for that. The Women in Publishing Summit was a 5-day event. We crunched it into 4 days this year where we celebrate and just talk about and share and encourage and empower women in the publishing industry. So authors, publishers, graphic designers, editors, all the people involved, book cover designers, I may have said that already, but anyone who is in either the process of writing, publishing, and selling a book or is in part of the support to the publishing. So publishers, all of the above. I started it in 2017 because I was attending a lot of live or virtual conferences and found that there was a real lack of presence of women in all of these conferences, which just blew my mind because I'm surrounded by incredible women in the publishing industry day in and day out. Some of my most incredible mentors, most of my most incredible mentors are women in the publishing industry. And we really wanted a space and a place to be able to just, share the accomplishments and get some really great training in it as well. So today, if you came in through the Women in Publishing Summit email list, I said there would be prizes. So let me talk about that a little bit. Here's what we're doing. I'm going to be totally transparent because that's just who I am. Like, it is our goal that through these big three free ones that you're going to decide that this is the community you want to be a part of too and want to take part in the conference. So I have some incentives, and don't worry, if you already have your ticket, you will be eligible for these too. We have a super cute t-shirt, professional bookworm with the Women in Publishing Summit emblem on there. You may have seen these because our whole team wore these at our team retreat and we've got lots of pictures of us in them. We have that. And then we have our wonderful mug. It's a little blurry. Sorry, everybody. It says sisters, women, friends, champions, survivors, writers, women. So I have those two things that we will be giving away to people at the end of the event. I'll bring them back up again and talk about them. And it'll be for people who either have a ticket or buy their ticket during the conference, during this session. So we will post the link throughout and I'll give a little bit of time afterwards. We'll verify that everyone who said, yes, I got my ticket actually has a ticket. And then we'll pick 5 winners to receive one or the other of those items. So I'm super excited about that. And I'm excited about this topic. So let me tell you how this webinar came to be. No, it's not a promo video, Amanda. I just promote a little bit at the very beginning of this because it's part of the Women in Publishing Summit and we're 1 week from the conference. So I wanted to make sure that people knew what was going on. Because one thing that I can tell you that is universal in marketing and book marketing is that just because you think everybody in your audience knows what you're doing does not mean that that's actually the truth. So I want to make sure that everybody who is here who wants to be a part of the conference knows it's coming up. And if you don't want to be, this is going to be excellent information for you anyway. Our goal is to always provide incredible free content for the people who either can't afford or can't attend or for whatever reason aren't part of that. And we do free monthly webinars every month so that we can still provide great information to everyone who is not part of the conference as well. So how this webinar came to be. Emily, who I'm going to introduce you to in just a second, was one of our authors who came through and we helped publish her first book. She is a romance suspense author. Her book, The Truth About Unspeakable Things, is one of the best books I read last year. So excited to work with her through the entire process. But what we found was that as Raywin, who was our other panelist here today, was coaching her through the process and giving her information on using Instagram to grow her audience and sell more books, she took whatever was told for her to do and like magnified it by a million. Her Instagram is out of this world. She's doing really great with that. She's done great with book sales and showing up in front of her audience and getting out there. So as we were looking at great content to provide to our audience and knowing that a lot of people are using social media, Instagram in particular, to try and grow their audience and to market their books to that audience, we decided this would be a really great topic, because the truth of the matter is it takes a long time and it's hard work to build not only an audience, but an engaged audience. But Instagram or any social media platform, when you're using it properly, can be a phenomenal tool for just creating fans that just are diehard fans. It can also be a great way to grow your email list. It can be a great way to sell your book, but there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes. We don't just show up on day one and have this amazing Instagram experience and sell 1 million books because we're doing well on Instagram. So I wanted them to come in and to share how the two of them work together, both Emily as the author and Raywin as just the super magnificent Instagram unicorn behind the scenes. By the way, if you're following us on Instagram, she is 100% the back end of our amazingly wonderful Instagram presence. So she knows what she's doing. So with that being said, I am going to turn it over to these ladies. I'm going to turn off the spotlight on me and I'm going to welcome them to the, thank you ladies for being here. And I just would love for you to, Emily, if you want to give a little better of an introduction to yourself, then please, by all means. Oh, before you do that, I'm seeing lots of questions in the chat and they're good questions and I want to make sure that we answer them. So please make sure you use the Q&A little button and post your questions in the Q&A. We'll have a time for Q&A at the end so we can get to all your questions, because I assure you by the time we get to that part, any questions that have already popped forward will be long gone. So please use that Q&A box. And now, Emily, take it away.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. If you see me doing this a lot, it's because I have headphones in and I'm trying to keep them in my ears. But I found the Women in Publishing Summit, I guess 4 years ago now. I first attended in 2019, which is when I really started pursuing becoming an author professionally. And this conference truly opened my eyes to the other side of the publishing industry, which is self-publishing. Because before that, I had this dream of being a traditionally published author, and I had unrealistic expectations and a ton of other stuff that's like, you fantasize this. But attending the Women in Publishing conference made me excited about self-publishing. It didn't make me view self-publishing as a backup plan or a second best option. It really made me excited about it. And now I can honestly say I wouldn't want my career to be going any other way. I'm so happy to be self-publishing, and I plan to continue to self-publish. And like Alexa said, I write romantic suspense, romantic thriller, which it's just like where my storytelling ability naturally goes. It's so fun to write. And I have one book out now, The Truth About Unspeakable Things, which came out last year, and I worked with Write Publish Sell to publish that. And I'm actually gearing up to launch the sequel to that book, Bound by the Unspeakable, this April 19th. And I got the print proof in yesterday, so I'm excited to read it and go through all of the steps required to really do this right. And so I hope you guys will check that out. And Raywin, what have you been up to?
Oh, this is this is my 4th year actually being a part of the Women in Publishing Summit. I've been working with Alexa and authors for since 2017,
Yeah, for a long time, 4 or 5 years.
2016, beginning of 2006. We never remember how long we've been together. I did not work with authors before I started working with Alexa, but I have a degree in journalism and have always loved reading and being in the book world. Someday maybe I will have a book written, but for now I just help a lot of authors and small businesses to run their Instagram and their content strategy. And I started doing Instagram with Alexa for her Write Publish Sell and Cat Biggie Press clients pretty much 2016, 2017. And Instagram changes a lot, right? But when we got with Emily was always surprising me. I'd be like, we're going to do this, Emily. And most of the time I've had to, help people along the way because they're learning a new technology, a new platform. I would go to check in on Emily and she would have like 3 months of content, like scheduled, planned out, created, beautiful. And I was like, I got to find new things for me to do because that's usually my job. So we had a lot of fun launching her book. And what I learned through that is that the more engaged the author is, the better their launch goes on social media. And so I love working with Emily, also loved her book. And yesterday she sent me a sneak peek of some exciting things. So I'm not supposed to say anything, but
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited for the second book, but now let's get in. We do have an official presentation. Let's get into the to the teaching part here because I see this beautiful presentation sitting here. I'm going to share my screen. And Raywin, you're just going to have to tell me, or Emily, when to go to the next slide so that I don't mess you up here. All right. Can everybody... Oops, I don't want to share this. That's not what I want to do. I want to slideshow it. Can everybody see the presentation here? Okay, I'm trying to figure out. I'm going to put this in full screen in a second here, but Raywin, can you see it?
Yes.
Good. Okay, I'm going to mute myself and kick it over to y'all and hear.
Okay, so yes, this is us, an author's secret weapon, social media strategy with the two of us looking cute on phones. So obviously, and I say obviously because social media is where everyone hangs out right now. Social media is important in book marketing. It's important in any type of sales of anything. But if you don't like social media, it can feel difficult, pointless, like, why do I have to be there? Especially if your audience is hanging out on a platform that you don't like. So say you're an avid Facebooker or you're really into Twitter, which I was really into Twitter in the beginning. And I know there's some great author chats on Twitter, but you're writing young adult and your young adult readers are spending their time on Book Talk and you're sitting there like, oh my goodness, I do not want to create any silly videos of me doing a dance. And we hear this all the time. And so that was another reason why I wanted to showcase Emily, because she did such a great job at creating this strong presence. And we're going to do a case study with some screenshots from her launch toward the end of the presentation. And she did such a great job without doing any funny dances, without even like, she just reached the right people because she was excited about her book. So you do not have to be a social media amazing person who spends all your time on Instagram. I'm not going to lie, a lot of our authors do end up having a lot of fun on Instagram, but you can show up and be authentic and have amazing growth with less than 1,000 followers and just, talking to people. It's really about the community. So I think you can go to the next slide, Alexa. So this is Emily.
Yeah, so I chose to work with Write Publish Sell for a few different reasons. And the main reason was this was my first book launch. I did not know the ins and outs, even though I was trying to learn them as best as I could. And so I really wanted to have a team behind me that could fill in the gaps, that knew the right things to do and the timing of everything. And Raywin was a part of that team. And so it was amazing to be able to work with, I mean, truly like just a combination, like virtual assistant, content creator, social media manager, and strategist. I feel like Raywin wears so many hats. To be able to work with her, we kind of fed off of one another. We learned from one another. And I think it was the best decision for me, with it being my first book, because you do get to learn about branding and also, you know, how that ties into your genre, with my genre being romantic thriller and my story kind of having some more like a dark tone to it. I mean, that translates into all of the graphics that we created for my Instagram feed. And again, going back to what Raywin mentioned about connecting with the right people, when you work with a social media strategist, someone who truly understands the genre of your book, they also understand who those readers are and, you know, what age they are. And a lot of times social media platforms are dictated by age. You'll find, you know, I would say young adults, probably primarily on Instagram, whereas Facebook, you're going to have the people who you personally know, like, you know, your family, people who are a little bit older, and TikTok, which I am not on, by the way, as much as I love social media, is for even younger than what you would find on Instagram. And so working with a social media manager helps you learn who those right readers are. And it's not just about, you know, getting on the right social media platform, which Instagram is for me, but it's also about connecting with the right reviewers. And so Raywin was really helpful in finding bookstagrammers who specifically were interested in my book. And again, expanding your offerings by working with someone who can't do the things that you can't. I love to create graphics and things, but I am not great at creating video content like reels and stuff like that. And so Raywin was super helpful with that. And so really, when you do work with a team or even just a virtual assistant or a social media manager, you're getting someone who can do the things that you can't. And when you are self-publishing, there is that misconception that you have to do everything yourself, but you really don't. It's so important to surround yourself with the right people. Oh, and then this is something that I also think is so important, because Raywin mentioned how, you know, she would tell me things that I should do and give me ideas, but I would kind of take it to the next level, because it is important for your personality to be there. And so a lot of times Raywin would give me ideas of like captions to post, but I would actually write the caption so that it was me, you know, and my audience got to know me. And I think that that's so important, to make everything personal and to share yourself as much as you share your book.
Yeah, I can't stress enough how important it is for you to be the person who's replying to comments or commenting when it's your author account. For example, on the Women in Publishing Summit account, I can respond in the comments very easily because it's a whole summit, right? You don't expect it to be just one person. But if you're the author, it's going to be expected that you're the person responding. So if someone says something that isn't on board with what you yourself would say, that can cause a problem. So that is definitely, I would say, the most important place for you to be on Instagram is responding to comments and commenting on other people's posts. But we wanted to dig in real fast with some strategy basics. If you have not been on Instagram, it's really important to pay attention to your posting times and your hashtags. So posting times, the algorithm is not chronological. So you don't necessarily need to be like watching like a hawk for what time to post on. However, in the analytics, you can see when your followers are most active on Instagram. And if you post in that time, it is better for you to get seen. You do get seen a little bit quicker. And the quicker you get seen and people start liking, then the way it shapes your post being seen for a longer period of time. In 2022, Instagram did change to offer a chronological feed as well. So that also gives you that advantage if someone is looking on a chronological feed, you could be right there at the top. Hashtags, everybody talks about hashtags all the time, right? Hashtags. Hashtags help you reach new people, and they help shape the algorithm to show you to your intended audience. But the biggest part with hashtags is that you want to make sure you are hashtagging things that your audience is looking for. So you're not hashtagging author all the time. Yes, you can add in author. However, if you're doing it all the time, the only people who are looking for author tend to be other authors looking for community. So instead, you want to be doing hashtags that are more related to your book or your book topic or your genre. And so those are the types of things that you want to be hashtagging, because think of it as if you are the person who's looking for your next great read on Instagram. You're going to be looking for a romantic thriller versus you're going to be looking for romance author, right? It's a little bit more specific. So that's really the key thing to hashtags. Hashtags, you could listen to people talk strategy on it all day, every day. But the most important part is that you're hashtagging things that your audience is actually searching for. Otherwise, there's no point in using hashtag. Can you go to the next slide? So the other most important parts of your strategy basics is to use a scheduling tool to plan your content in advance. I had mentioned that whenever I went in to look at Emily's content, she would have like 3 months planned out. I would literally be going in like we had planned together her topic ideas, and then she liked to create the graphics, so she had the graphics, and I'd go in to help write the captions, and then I'd see like a whole bunch of captions written. And what was great about that is whenever there was something coming up, you know, if someone got sick or a super busy week, we knew that posts were still going up about Emily's book, and then she'd add in some other personal posts and things throughout the time. And then the last part of the strategy, which I think is really the most important part, is to be authentically you. And if that means that you don't show you don't like to take pictures of your face, that is okay. You do not have to be posting pictures of your face or videos of you. But you can, if you drink your coffee with a fancy latte art every single morning, you know what? Post that, because that's a quirk about who you are as an author that people are going to love and people are going to latch onto. And that is how you be authentically you on social media, as opposed to having to be showing up, putting on a face full of makeup or no makeup. Like, you don't have to be showing up as your video, you as a person, but you do need to be showing up as you within the text and within the types of posts that you're doing. I hope that made sense. So here's your profile must. A photograph of either yourself, or you could do one of those fun like drawings of yourself, like especially now that they have the avatar option on Facebook and stuff, but that kind of made everybody look like older than they actually were, except for me. I started to look like a 12-year-old, so that was cool. And then you definitely want to have your name, your genre, because those are things that people are searching for, right? Your book title, so that anyone who glances at it can have your book title like lodged into their brain memory, and who your ideal reader is. And I don't mean like you have to go into explicit detail on your ideal reader, but if your ideal reader is okay, we'll take Emily's for example again, obviously, since we're doing a case study on hers. Emily's book needed to have a trigger warning. We needed to make sure that it had a trigger warning, right? So we needed to make sure that that was in her profile, that it was a romantic suspense thriller, because we did not want anyone to be surprised, right? And so if your ideal reader is going to be someone who's been through trauma, you're going to want to say that. Your book is about disabilities or diversity. You're going to want to mention that, because those are the things that draw people in. So then I kind of moved down into the pink area, where I mentioned other things like the highlights, which are these little circles down at the bottom. Those come from your story, and they give like inside looks at things, basically. Video footage, again, it does not have to be video footage of your face. It could be video footage that is stock. I've done that with a lot of clients. Carousel images, which is really the ones that you swipe through. And the reason those are good for the algorithm is because those get people staying on the post for longer. So they seem to be more engaged, getting more views, and Instagram likes that. And then you want to have a URL. And Instagram only lets you have one link. And so we usually recommend using something like Smart Bio, or Linktree isn't really the popular one anymore, but there's like LinkedIn Bio, Beacons. There's a whole bunch of free ones that you can use that would link to more than one specific location than your website. You can click to the next page. Oh.
So I will talk about the extra things. Oh wait, Raywin, did you still have something? Okay.
No.
So
I'm really bad at transitions, apparently.
Okay, so Raymond talked about the kind of strategy basics, and I want to talk about the kind of extra things that I did to really make the launch of my first book a success. And I say that with like expectations of a first-time self-published author success. In my opinion, it was. And so a few of the extra things that I did was I actually created these influencer boxes. And so like I had a paperback copy of my book. I actually had a friend of mine who owns her own candle making business. We collaborated and we made a special candle scent that was like, if you were in my character's home, this is what it would smell like. And so I did the candles, I did the bookmarks, I did the stickers, I did a bunch of things. And I realized that this is not necessarily something that every author is going to want to do. I am not going as crazy with my second launch, but I do think when you're a first-time author, it's important to really try to not sell yourself short and attract those big reviewers, those big bookstagrammers. And I think we did get a couple of people who had, thousands of followers. And I don't mean like 3 to 5, I mean more than that. And so with these influencer kits, we were able to attract these prolific reviewers that are getting, 1,000+ likes on every review that they post. I see a question about, I think, can you reiterate what an influencer box is? It's basically just a little combination of goodies. So you might create, I don't know if you guys can, I'm assuming you can see me because I can't see myself, but I created these for my upcoming book launch. Oh yeah, so these are postcards. And because it's a sequel, I have the graphics for both books there. I also created a bookmark just like I did for my other book launch. And so it's just a collection of goodies that can be related to your book or just bookish items that you might purchase on Etsy. Do you want to go back to the slideshow? Okay, getting on video. So I mentioned that I'm not great at creating reels. So Raywin helped a lot with that. But since my book has come out, I have actually started to create more video content for myself, which you can see on my Instagram. So for example, I will literally do a recording of my computer screen, just kind of like moving my phone like this. And on the screen, like my screensaver is of my book and stuff like that. And so it's very simple, you know, with Instagram, you film like a little video on your phone, you upload the video, and you can add music and filters and all of that, which we may possibly be able to show you how to do later if we have time. But I have learned more about that. And then lives, like Raywin mentioned about the whole carousel thing, the more you can keep people on the platforms, the more that these platforms are going to promote you and your post. And so lives, you know, if you film a video, whether it's live or not, like I've done it both ways, where I will film a video and then I'll post it later, and then I'll actually do a live. I've done it both ways, but I mean, these 5-minute videos, 15-minute videos, they keep people on your page. And so all of these things affect the algorithm, and people just in general like to view video content because they don't have to read anything, which I know is crazy because we're in this bookish world, but sometimes we just like to watch a video. Okay. Behind the book, don't forget how important you are. And so I have done photo shoots where I, you know, just have fun with it. I get those professionally taken photos because I don't have anyone else like taking the pictures of me, and I want something a little better than a selfie. So I have a friend who does that for me, and that's awesome. And I think the more you can, you know, decide what your comfort is, like Raywin mentioned, whether you want to show your face or not. I do, and I really love being able to connect with my followers that way and really let them get to know me. But depending on your comfort level, you know, you can do different things. But I think having some high quality images is a great place to start. Yeah, and I mentioned, you know, showing off your personality, whether that is what you're eating, traveling. When I first started, I thought every post had to be about my book, some book brush graphic, which is great. But what I find is that my followers really love it when I also share about myself and what's going on in my life. And if I go on a vacation, or like yesterday, I literally left the house for 1 hour to go grocery shopping. And I took a video, I took a picture of myself saying, leaving my cave to adult for 1 hour, because literally that is my life. I spend most of my time at home. And people just enjoy getting to know you, because when they feel that they know you, they are more likely to support you. And even if what you're writing is not what they would typically read, if they really connect with you as a person, they're more likely to support you. Influencer outreach. So even after my book came out, I was still reaching out to people that I considered influencers, which were people who reviewed books professionally on Instagram, and they had, a substantial amount of followers because the money behind the influencer packages that I put together was substantial. And so you want to give those out to the people who are going to hopefully be able to attract the most potential readers for you. And I continue to reach out to people like that. I continue to pitch myself for podcast interviews and YouTube spots. And the podcast interviews, what I found is that, there are two types of reviews, and this is for fiction authors, because for nonfiction, there are a ton of podcast options that are all about, those specific topics. For fiction authors, you kind of fall into two avenues. You can either talk about what it's like being an author and the publishing industry, which is what I have actually done the most of, or you can talk about your book. And so there are two different types of podcast interviews that you can do. And to be honest, I think that they are all worth doing, especially when you're starting out. Whoever is willing to talk to you, whether it's about publishing or marketing or your book, it is worth it because you're making connections, you're getting, you're getting in front of their audience, and you may find new readers that way.
I just wanted to touch a little bit on what she said about the showing little snippets of who you are, and like that super, I love that you did that post, Emily, where you're like coming out of my cage. The thing is, social media is not the place where you are selling constantly or where you are advertising constantly. We have to keep in mind that social media is social at its core. So the reason that your readers are following you is not to get the latest news on your book when it's coming out. Like, yeah, that's awesome. They're definitely going to want to do it, but they want to feel that connection to you. I don't know if any of you ever felt this way, but I, as a reader, as a child, my favorite book series, the author would do like media appearances all the time. And it was the first time that I ever saw an author outside of just knowing who they were from their like back sleeve cover, right? Their profile photo on it. And now we have that capability to be able to let people into our lives just a little bit. You don't have to, show them all the messy and everything, but just getting a little bit of that personalness of you to your audience is why they want to follow you on social media. And that's what's going to get them to want to buy all of your books. If you're writing a whole bunch of books, or if you are a nonfiction writer and you own a business and you're writing your book to get more people to join your business or to buy your product. And like, for example, if you're an entrepreneur, it is fabulous to give that little bit of background insight into who you are. Emily, did you raise your hand?
Yeah, I just wanted to say quickly, because I saw a few things in the chat, a few more things on the influencer boxes. Just to clarify, I did not pay any influencers. When I said the money behind the influencer boxes, that's the money that I, used to buy my postcards, my bookmarks, and stuff like that. And so when you think about this as a business, you're assigning a monetary value to that box, whether it's $10 or $20. And then also another person mentioned, like, it seems like it could be expensive to do influencer boxes, and it definitely can be. And I also think it's possible to create a little extra something to get people excited without spending a ton of money. I mean, you can get bookmarks. Like, I use Vistaprint for everything, and they always have a discount code. you can get bookmarks for $20 or less. And then just that little extra thing is going to make people excited. Of course, the paperback is your most expensive thing. But again, when you're ordering author copies, you're only paying the print cost, which is maybe like my book is about 300 pages and it's like $4 a book to print, $4 and some change. So even if you only give out like less than $100 worth of influencer boxes, it will go a long way. Okay.
Okay, so I wanted to go into this case study of the analytics of Emily's launch. So these photographs or screenshots rather were taken prior to her book launch. I can't tell you exactly how much prior, but I think when you launched, you had about 1,000 followers, right? And here you had 705.
When we launched, I had about 800 something.
800. Okay, so it was close to launch. Okay. So the first image is going to be when Emily very first started doing Instagram Reels. Now, you have to keep in mind that her launch was a whole year ago. So Instagram Reels were a newer thing back then. There was no information on what people wanted to see on Reels. There was no trending sounds. There were no trending dances. It was really like a touch and go, try to figure out, make some fun videos like that we did. And so the first video she has there, it actually has a stack of her books, her print copies, and just like a very simple, like, I think it was a panning video you did, Emily, right?
Yeah, I literally just had my phone. I had that set up on my dining room table. I had my phone and I just kind of like drug the phone like
Okay,
that. And then I
that's
added
fun.
some music. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other one that has 2,000 views is actually, I know here it looks like it's just a photo of her book, but when you hit play on it, it has some cute videos of Emily just kind of like background B footage is what we call it in journalism. So there's her flipping through her book. There's her like kind of like putting her hair behind her ear. Again, she did a professional photo shoot, so we were able to grab these video footage, but the text on the screen said launching April 6th. Here is a giveaway. And so you can see that you don't have to necessarily show up on video, but there is a difference. So if you do choose to show up on video as your face or as a person, or even if it's someone else who's reading your book, it is going to get more views in the Reels. And there is so much you could talk about with Reels. So I'm going to switch to the second image, which has an overview of her reach and content interactions. And if you look, one says 30 days, one says 7 days. So over 30 days, she gained almost 200 followers, which was fabulous, right? That's a lot. That's 35% of what she had before. And her reach was 10%. What I tell people with their insights when they look at them, if it is in the green, you are happy. If it is not green, like the content interactions was down 6.1% on the 30 day and it was down 66.5% on the 7 day, that's okay, because you have to keep in mind what your posts were during that time. So for this one, the 30 day, we were really focusing on getting to reach because we really wanted to reach the most people prior to her book launch. And so we weren't really focused as much on content interaction. So the posts that we were doing and the hashtags we were using were very much focused on reaching new people. On the 7 days one, so this is March 11th to March 17th. I apparently didn't see that earlier when I said I didn't know when this was. And her content interactions were higher. So but her reach was down. So that week in particular, we were focused more on getting people to engage, to comment. And those are the calls to actions that we actually put into her posts. So if you see a picture, like really teeny tiny down, there's a, oh, actually, no. Alexa, you can go to the next slide. So this is a picture of her book, right? And if you do a post with a picture about your book, oftentimes the best part is to do an excerpt with it. And then in the caption, you could have a call to action that would say something like, you could pre-order it now, or do you want to learn more? Comment below. All of those types of things increase your engagement. So this post in particular is from one of our influencers. And I really wanted to talk a lot about the influencers because the influencers are going to be key for you. Not only are they going to give you a review that you could use, but they're also going to be reaching out to their audience. I would say like 98 times out of 100, we do not pay influencers. And if someone reaches out to you and says that they want, like, you could get our review for $25, don't do it. Don't do it. I talk more about this all the time in some of our other trainings and stuff we do. But this is Bree's reviews. She is fabulous. I wouldn't be surprised if you reached out to her and said that you found her from Emily, and she would probably be really excited. We turned her into one of our recurring influencers who receives a free copy of the book because of how awesome she is. So Emily sent her one of the influencer copies. Bree took this photograph. This is her photograph she took herself, but sometimes they do share photos that you send them. And then she gave her a review. If you look at the likes, it had over 1,000 likes. And that is why you want to reach out to influencers, because you could have 500 followers, 300 followers. But if you get your book positioned in the right place with the right people, you're going to see sales as opposed to followers. And so selling is a little bit more difficult, on social media, and you want the social media to be social. But if you're using it in terms of marketing, it's always better to use it alongside an influencer or a podcast person. And that way it gets you seen to their audience. I think next slide. Yeah.
So since the book has come out, I think we need to go back one. Okay, so I kind of mentioned earlier how after the book came out, I have continued to do a lot of things. And I will say, looking back on the launch, to put things in perspective, I did not have a professional Instagram 3 months before my book came out. My book launched in April of last year, and we started creating my Instagram probably in January, probably actively engaging on it in February. And so we did participate in a lot of follow trains to try to get my followers up. And of course, all of the influencer outreach that we did, we tried to connect with the right people leading up to the launch. But it was really after the launch that I think really took the truth about unspeakable things from a successful launch to a successful book, because the book has now been out for almost a year. The majority of the reviews that I have gotten, which it now has over 200 reviews on Amazon, which is, I'm very happy with. So the majority of those reviews have come actually after the launch, after that early reviewer campaign that we did, because I've continued to reach out to reviewers on Instagram, and even my book is enrolled in Kindle Unlimited, but it is still, you're still able to send out paperback copies. You're still able to email influencers directly with those ebook copies. I also continue to run Goodreads giveaways. I think I've run at least one, if not two, Goodreads giveaways since the book has come out, which is something that I honestly didn't know if I should do or not. But believe it or not, I actually had more people interested in my book 6 months after it came out with that Goodreads giveaway than I did for the initial launch giveaway. Continuing to post. I've been working on a new book. I mean, well, I'm gearing up to launch it now, but all last year I was working on a new book, and I actually took a break from social media for the first 3 months because I thought that I couldn't manage social media with writing. I thought I needed, all of my attention on writing, and that social media would suck up too much of my time, but it actually didn't. As Raywin said, when you use software like Tailwind, which I don't know, I think it's free. There may be a paid plan, but I think you can start off with a free plan. I might be wrong on that, but when you use things like Tailwind, you can schedule a ton of posts in advance. And that also takes the stress off of you to post in the moment. Because I'll post if I'm going out with friends, if I'm leaving the house on one of those rare occasions, because I work from home, so I don't leave the house a lot. So whenever those things happen, I'll post, just a candid photo on Instagram, and that works with all of the other pre-planned posts that I have. And I also post a lot of stories while I'm writing. I recently got a Twitter. I'm not very active on there because I think it's harder to build a book following there. But I basically use Instagram stories like I would a Twitter account, where I can post, my writing goals, how many words did I get? As I'm writing, I'm doing research on settings, and I'm finding pictures on Pinterest of character inspiration outfits and stuff. And so I will share that via my stories on Instagram. And all of those things continue to build excitement, and they make people excited about what you're doing. And because of all of the excitement that I was able to build over the past year by sharing while I was writing, I was able to move my book launch up by a month. Instead of launching in May of this year, I'm launching in April of this year, because I had many people who were ready and willing to be reviewers for this second book. And also I was able to reach out to the same influencers that I did for the last book. So I think, finding a way to manage social media while you manage everything else in your life, I truly feel is so important. I continue to participate in follow trains. I don't do it as much as I did when I was first trying to build my follower base on Instagram. But now that I'm gearing up to launch my second book, I'm participating in more of them. Also, I think naturally, we said this at the beginning, it doesn't happen overnight. This is a long game. And so many of the things that you're going to find when you Google, how to be a successful author and all of that stuff that you can find on the internet talks about, creating these relationships and building these natural connections with people. And that is 100% true, but it doesn't happen overnight. So over the past year, just sharing my life and engaging with other people without any sort of motive at all. I'm not trying to sell you my book. I'm genuinely interested in you. You're genuinely interested in me. You meet authors and you also meet reviewers. And so I've been able to do some collaborative giveaways with other authors. I did a thriller book bundle with 5 other authors. So we gave out, one grand prize winner got a copy of all of our books. And so continuing to do those things, trying out new hashtags to reach new readers. I personally use hashtag expert, which is free. And that helps me to continue to change up my hashtags. Tailwind also has an easy hashtag thing.
Alexa, can you click to the next page so they can see the
Yep.
list of resources?
Yes. Yes. And so this will be part of the recording. So these are all of our favorite tools that we both use.
And we also, I made this into a PDF so that we can send it to you and you guys have all of the names of everything to look up. I know that I think we're getting close on the time, so we should do the Q&A. I'm trying to answer some in typing, but something that I really wanted to, I lost the question that I.
Hold on, just a quick question, because I want to make sure we're,
Yeah,
okay, so
okay.
there's a lot of very, very specific questions in the Q&A that we're not going to be able to get to today. There are 4 or 5 different questions on influencer boxes and finding influencers. I think that would be really good in our limited time to kind of cover that, because that can be finding influencers, and influencer boxes can be something that people want to consider. But before we do that, I just want to remind everybody about our giveaway for our t-shirt and mug. So while we're doing the Q&A session, if you have a ticket for the Women in Publishing Summit, type "got it" in the comments. And if you don't, I'm going to drop the link right here. Holy moly, that's a lot of tickets. If you don't have it yet, go over to womeninpublishingsummit.com and grab it. And then you can say "got it" after you have it while we're doing this. And I will pick 5 people after we verify all these got it's. That's a lot of people. Wow. Thank you. We will pick 5 people to get a t-shirt and a mug. But the influencer boxes I want to cover, and Emily, you can talk about what the questions, the 3 questions here. The one was what you included in the boxes, which is good. And Raywin can talk about influencer research, but really quickly, I want to talk about the why behind it. And the reason we started doing these influencer boxes is because mostly because I was talking to other publishers and found that what a lot of other publishers were telling me was one of the things that they had great success with was finding their target readers, finding the right people who had an influence on social media, who if they received something would post on social, would do reviews, would do all these kinds of things. So you don't want to break the bank in coming up with an influencer box for all of these people. You're going to want to spend some time researching the right people. So children's books are a great example, finding teachers, finding homeschooling parents, finding parents, things like that are active on social media. And then you can reach out and say, hey, you want to follow these people and build a relationship with them in the best case scenario, then reach out with them and say, I'm launching this book. I've got this influencer box. What comes in it? You don't have to call it an influencer box. You can say, I'd like to offer you an opportunity to support me in my launch, or however you want to phrase it. I'm looking for people who are willing to post on social media, who are willing to leave reviews and help me get this book launched. And if you say yes, then, I'm willing to send you a box that has a copy of the book, for children's books, maybe stickers, bookmarks, some fun things like that. Emily will tell you what she put in there. But you do, the thing that I want to be very clear about is that if you're going to invest the time and the money to do this, you do need to spend the time making sure that you are reaching people who are going to be a good fit. They don't have to have 1 million followers. They can be a teacher with 500 followers that has exactly the right audience that come to follow her account because she's going to post on those types of books and people are engaging and all that kind of stuff, which is a huge, long other discussion, but just, it's a great way to do. And then I'll let Raywin talk about finding those people, and then Emily talking about what she put in that box and how it worked out for her.
Awesome. Yeah. So finding influencers, as I mentioned briefly, if someone reaches out to you and wants you to pay them, I would say no right off the bat. But if someone reaches out to you and wants to read a copy of your book, send them the ebook. Look at their number of followers and their engagement numbers, which is a little bit harder when their profiles might not show likes, but you can see how many comments that they have, and see if the people who are commenting on the posts, their posts, are people who are part of your ideal reader list. That will be like the number one best way to find somebody who is a good influencer fit. So what I typically do is I start out, Alexa, am I featured or are you featured? Because I don't know if you wanted to be featured right now. I just see you, I don't see me. So that's what I was asking. If you are looking for an influencer, start with your genre of book and start with the word review. And with Instagram, you can now search things that don't have to be a hashtag. So you could type in romance reviewer, YA reviewer. You could type in memoir lover. One of our attendees, hers is about mysteries, cozy mysteries. So you can type in cozy mysteries, and I'm sure you'll find a whole bunch of influencers that have that in their username or like in their bio that they love to read it. So once you find someone, follow them, look at their content. If their reviews look like something that you would want, you want them to review your book, then say, okay, I liked their imagery. It looks good. They're my ideal audience. Let's see if their audience is my ideal audience. So then what you do is you look at the people who are commenting on their posts. And the reason you want to look at the people who are commenting on their posts as opposed to the people who are following them is they may have a lot of followers that aren't engaged, and you don't care about those people. You care about the people who are actually commenting and who are interacting with this influencer. So like Alexa said, they don't have to have a ton of followers. We usually do for print copies of books if they have 5,000 or more followers. And for ebooks, if it's an advanced reader copy, we will send them out to anybody who requests them, but we will specifically seek out people who have 1,000 plus. If you're doing an influencer box to someone, I would say if you're spending the money to put together a box, do it the 5,000 plus range of followers. But again, you need to look at their people who are commenting on their posts and see if those are the types of people that you want reading your book, because they could say they love cozy mysteries. They could write all about how much they love cozy mysteries. But if the only people who are commenting on their photographs are their parents and their best friends who don't actually like to read cozy mysteries, then they're not an influencer you want to spend the time and the money to kind of date and work on a relationship with, right? So you start out with following them, then you get comment on their stuff. They'll hopefully comment on yours. You can send a direct message. After a while, I wouldn't send one immediately. Send one after a while, introduce yourself, get personal, say, it looks like your content and your people would enjoy my book, and I'd love to send you a copy of it. Most of the time, people are 100% down. Some of the times their to be read list is way too long, and usually they'll tell you. And then they also usually say, you know what, I have a friend who really likes this style of book. I'm going to connect you with them. And once you network in with one influencer, you end up finding a whole bunch of them. And I think that's one of like the best parts about the Bookstagram. And if you're on TikTok, the Book Talk community, is that it really is readers love to share their books with other people. So I would say that would be my top tips on finding influencers.
As far as like what you would put in an influencer box, I think it depends on your budget. The most important thing is to have a paperback copy of your book, because like Raywin said, you are sending out, those e-arcs to pretty much anyone who wants to review your book for free. Again, you're probably going to get a lot of people who want you to pay for reviews. Don't do it. There are plenty of people who are going to review your book for free. And as far as what you put in those influencer boxes, to the people who you have vetted, like Raywin talked about, I did a paperback, I did the custom candle that I talked about, which was honestly something that probably is not realistic to do for every launch. That was my first launch. I wanted it to be big and exciting. So I did spend the money to do those candles, and it did help generate a lot of excitement, but I am not doing that for the launch of my second book because, you know, when you're looking at this as a business, you have to look at the numbers. And so I'm not investing the money in those candles again this year, but I still created a bookmark. I created a new one that's different from the one I had last time. I designed a postcard that has, you know, my characters on it with some quotes, and then I used Book Brush to add the covers of my books there. So these are some things that I'm going to be giving out to the people who I am choosing as influencers for Bound by the Unspeakable. And then, so I'm scaling back my influencer boxes. And again, I think how much or how little you put in is totally up to you. And it also doesn't all necessarily have to be custom created for your book. I think, you know, as an influencer box, it probably should be. But for example, some of the giveaways that I'm going to be doing closer to launch, I actually just bought a couple of things from Etsy, like little cute bookish stickers that aren't necessarily related to my book, but I just bought them from another bookish designer. And so creating those packages for book lovers, that's truly what these packages are about. And when you're reaching out to influencers specifically for your book, it should be related to your book. For other things like giveaways, though, you could skip that custom creation step and get some other things from other designers.
So I just want to show you really quickly, and then we have to wrap this up. Our time is over, and I know a lot of people only had an hour for this, but we launched a book last year called Rupert Snowman. Again, it's a children's book. I have a children's book publishing house, so we do a lot of that. But Philippa had just some fun little buttons made. It's got a little, I don't know what that is. I think it's a reindeer. It's got something on it. She had some fun little stickers made. She had a postcard with information about her book made up. And then I had just some, and she had these, she bought these cute little, like, she went to the store and found these little, it's a little erasers, and it's got little Christmas trees and little reindeer and things like that in them. And then basically, like, I took all the books. She's in the UK, so I got the joy of shipping out all these books to all of all our people. Actually, it was a lot of fun because it was Christmas time, and I took a copy of her book. I put in the little pin, I put in a little sticker, I put in a little eraser, and then I bought some fancy red shiny wrapping paper, and I wrapped it up and put a sticker on top of it, and I sent it out. Like, people get excited. It did not cost a fortune to do these. People get really excited about getting something. So again, like, this is once you've done the research to find the right people, because you don't want to spend a lot of money sending out print copies and fun things to people who are not going to be who are not going to do something in return. You're not, I mean, unless you just really want to give presents to people. But so make sure when you're engaging with them that you get some sort of agreement from them that, yes, they do agree in exchange for this, that they will at a minimum post on Instagram or the social media tool, that they will do a review. You cannot require someone to do a review on Amazon, but Goodreads is the answer for that. You can say, would you please leave a review on Goodreads and or Amazon? And most people will do both. But anyway, so that's the influencer box. Someone had asked the question about the conference that I just want to answer really quickly before we wrap this up. And that is, the conference is for all authors, whether you are independently publishing through traditional, or still trying to figure it out, brand new, super advanced. Like, if you go to the website, you can click on see the full schedule. There is something for everyone. And I guarantee you every one of the workshops is worth the cost, the price to attend. So the investment in your author career. So yes, you will get a recording of this. Yes, I will send a PDF of the slides so that you will have all of this. Yes, you will get Raywyn's and Emily's worksheet that they put together for you, or resources, little freebie. And also, a lot of people were asking very, very, very detailed questions on the how-tos. We actually have a very good Instagram for Authors course, and I'll send you the link to that. It's on AppSumo. The normal cost is $197, but you can get it through AppSumo for $47. So I will include that link. It walks you step by step through doing all these things. You can also use Google and YouTube and all kinds of other things. If you don't have the budget to buy things, we certainly appreciate that. But I hope you got some good information, at least on how to use this tool to grow your audience, to engage with reviewers, to keep it up, to keep going. Lots of you asked when you should start the minute you know you're going to publish a book, or you're writing a book, so that you can grow that audience. As much time as you can to grow your platform, the better you will be when it comes to launch. So Emily, thank you so much. I am truly excited about the launch of your next book, and also very jealous that Raywyn has seen it and I haven't. So I expect to be receiving my sneak peek sometime soon.
I know you're so busy right now. That's why I didn't bother you with it.
After the conference, I can't wait to dig into it. But just as a final thought here, and the ladies mentioned this a couple times, social media is meant to be social. Think about what kinds of things you can do to engage with people who are going to want to see what you're doing, either be entertained by it, be taught by it, get some kind of value out of what you're doing. And someone asked the question on how much time do you spend on Instagram? All the scheduling tools that they talked about, and batch creation and things like that, which is where you create a bunch of content at one time, those will help you reduce your time. And for me, Raywyn creates all my content for the Women in Publishing Summit. So the amount of time I spend on engagement is much reduced. I go in every day. I look at what's been posted. I look at what people are saying. I engage with them. I reply to their comments. I like things. I look through our feed, and I like other people's posts and share other people's posts. I spend about 10 minutes a day. So, but there have been times when I've spent hours a day on trying to figure it out. So it really depends on what you're doing and all that good stuff. So we enjoyed having you with us here today. More great content is coming up. If you are looking for the next two of our big three, go over to womeninpublishingsummit.com/events, and you can see all of our upcoming webinars. We have free webinars every month, and we've got 2 more coming up, one on Sunday, one on March 1st, that are going to be fantastic. We do In the Weeds training workshops, which we did one on Instagram not too long at some point, or have we? No, we need to add that one to our schedule. We have our course. We haven't done a workshop on Instagram yet, but anyway, thank you for being here. We appreciate all of you, and join us at our next event. Thank you, Raywyn and Emily. You two are amazing. Much love to both of you. Have a great day.